So you're thinking about moving to Issaquah, Washington. Well, stick around. In this video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of living in Issaquah. So we'll talk about, what are the great reasons to be here, and also maybe what are the not so good reasons to be here. Make sure to stay until the end to find out one of my last cons, which is actually one of the main reasons why I left Issaquah. So stick around, you're not going to want to miss this, and we're going to get after it right now. Hey, if this is your first time to the channel and you want to know all there is to know about living in King County or places like Issaquah, like we're talking about today, hit the subscribe button, tap the bell for notifications. That way you can be the first to be notified when there's a new video out on either Issaquah or one of our other favorite cities here on the east side in King County. I'm Brad Decater with the Decater Home Team, and we get calls, texts, and emails from people just like you every day who are looking to make their move to King County. We'd love to hear from you, so maybe if you're even 1 day away or 1 year away, it doesn't matter. Down below, there'll be ways to reach us, either call, text, DM. We can hop on a Zoom link to talk about the market, but we would love to make you make a smooth move to King County. So today's video, we are doing the pros and cons of living in Issaquah. I would say I know them pretty well because I am born and raised Issaquah, Washington. Issaquah, Sammamish, there was a little border change at one point, so became Sammamish. But anyway, I'm from the area. I lived in Issaquah. Actually, one of the houses I lived in before my last house was in Issaquah, but I recently moved to Maple Valley. But anyway, we will talk about the pros and the cons. All right, so jumping into our first pro, number one is going to be the school district. A lot of people come to Issaquah just for the great school district. So it is named after the city, Issaquah School District, even though it actually goes to a few cities. But Issaquah school districts are very, very sought after. They're very, very high rating on the websites that rate schools. Issaquah High School, Issaquah Middle School, really, really great schools. And so they really compete with some of the best in the whole state, really. Bellevue, Lake Washington School District, Snoqualmie, and Issaquah. You really can't go wrong with any of those districts between Bellevue, Lake Washington, Snoqualmie, and Issaquah. They're all very good school districts, very, very highly rated. And Issaquah is just right up there with them. Bellevue is the one that a lot of people talk about, but they're pretty much neck and neck. So Issaquah School District is an amazing school district. If you're someone who's relocating and you have a family and school districts are important to you, then this would be, a very good pro for you because it does have some of the best school districts in the entire state. All right, so my first con is going to be traffic. So it's not so much trafficy as far as just downtown, like on a regular day. It can be, if it's shopping time, like after work time or Saturday, Sunday, then Front Street and Gilman, which are kind of our main streets here with the downtown commercial centers for Target and the shopping centers, Safeway, QFC, things like that, then it is going to be a little bit congested and have a little traffic. These are, this is not a major city as in like Seattle, Bellevue. There's no skyscrapers. It's a commuter town. So it's a fairly small town. It's got a decent size radius, but anyway, the shopping centers are really good. So there is going to be some traffic down there in downtown on the right, depending on the time of day you're at. Also, if you're going to be going, like most people are going to commute to either Bellevue or Seattle, maybe Redmond or Kirkland or something like that for their job if they're not remote. And if that's the case, then you're definitely going to hit some traffic. So the I-90 is what's going to take you from Issaquah to either Bellevue or Seattle. No matter what, you're going to take 90, and then it kind of depends on where you're going from there. You might take 405 up north to get to Redmond or Kirkland, or you might not, and you might head straight to Seattle. But I-90 will be backed up. If it's like the morning commute, so 7 a.m., 8 a.m., you will be backed up to get on the I-90, guaranteed. And it's going to get pretty stop and go towards Bellevue. And then if you get on 405, also going to be fairly trafficy as far as just like the rush hour time. So getting to work, leaving work if you're working in, conventional hours. And unfortunately, it doesn't get a lot better if you're not going I-90. So there's a few other alternate routes. You could go along the lake, West Lake Sammamish or East Lake Sammamish Parkway to get to Redmond. That one will be fine. But if you're going to try and go down south to get to like Highway 18, Issaquah Hobart Road and 900 are going to be one of the worst roads as well. Issaquah Hobart Road is absolutely terrible. Most of the time, people are busy coming into Issaquah from the south, though, from like Maple Valley and stuff. But that road gets pretty terrible too, and then it also gets a lot worse if you're the one coming from Issaquah over back down south after work, like at 4, 5, 6 p.m., that gets pretty backed up as well. So my first con, overall traffic is going to be a little bit of an issue for you. All right, pro number 2. This is going to be just the general location and vicinity to everything else around. So I love Issaquah because you're getting out of the city. So it's one of the first suburbs. Bellevue is a suburb of Seattle, but I don't count as an actual suburb unless you're in a Bellevue suburb. Bellevue's pretty big, but downtown Bellevue is a city, full on skyscrapers, malls, commercial. You know, it's a city. So Issaquah is the next town over. If we put the map up here, you'll see that it's bordering Bellevue. So Issaquah is one of the first cities that's an actual suburb market, and it's one of the best locations that you can get if you're going to be in one of these suburb markets like Issaquah, Sammamish, you know, North Bend, Snoqualmie, Maple Valley. This is going to be, I think, probably your best location for if you're a commuter to Bellevue or Seattle or even Redmond or Kirkland, because it's in such a convenient location because you can, like I said, just hop on to 90. You're super quick to Bellevue. It's probably from the start of I-90 in downtown Issaquah. You're probably only 8 minutes with no traffic to Bellevue. I mean, it's a straight shot. Seattle, probably just about twice as long, maybe 20 minutes with no traffic, 25 minutes. Like I said, there is going to be traffic a lot of times, so that is not accurate if it's going to be in rush hour. But still, it is in really good proximity to Bellevue and to Seattle, and it is a straight shot right to both of the middle of the towns. Like I-90 runs through mostly downtown Bellevue. You have to get off a little bit early. But I-90 goes straight to Seattle, which is going to land you right at like T-Mobile Field, so right in the hub, Pike Place Market, like downtown proper, you know, Seattle. So the location is really amazing because you just, if you're a commuter, then it's going to get you somewhere super quickly. If you're going to be going somewhere far north and south, it's also super quick to get to 405. So you would take 90 to get to 405, about 8 minutes or so, and then you got the whole north-south after 405. So it's just pretty conveniently located for most people. All right, con number 2 is going to be the weather. So this is for mostly who people are relocating from out of state, because you may or may not know what kind of weather we have here. Everyone who's already in Seattle, Bellevue, you know, Issaquah, Sammamish, whatever, it's all going to be about the same. But yeah, weather, if you're not aware, it's not that great here. Depending on how you look at it, I think we have some of the best summers ever because I can't handle the 100-degree heat. Summers here are amazing. They range from like 70 to 90 degrees. It's been like 90 a few days in the last like few weeks, and everyone's like, wow, this is crazy hot. But that's as bad as it gets, and that is pretty hot. But it's usually comfortable 75 to 85. It's probably like your average range in like your, you know, July, August, the heat of summer. So great summers, but this is a con, so let's get to the bad part. It is not going to be very enjoyable, especially if you're someone who's coming from Florida, Arizona, Texas, just a totally different climate. But when we're, let's say October, it starts raining. October to March, so the basically the winter essentially, is going to be pretty gloomy, pretty rainy, pretty wet, pretty cold too. The good news, even though this is a con, is that it's not in the extremes. So we don't have hot summers and very, very cold winters. We're only going to get snow maybe once a year. So throughout the winter, it's going to be cold, of course, but it's probably not going to be below freezing very often at all. So it's just having to get used to a lot of the moisture. So if you like snow or something, you're not going to get a lot of snow here, but you're just going to get a lot of rain because it's not below freezing very often. And it is quite a bit of rain. If we can pull up some stats here and show you guys how much rain we get in relation to a few other major cities. But not only just the rain, and it's kind of what I think I want to prepare people for if they are thinking about relocating is like the gloominess. So during those times, even into fall and into spring, so like other than just summer really, it's just going to be a little bit gloomy. It's going to be more cloudy than it is sunny. Some of these rainy days are they're just gray and kind of dark the whole day long. So it's just something to be aware about. If you haven't dealt with that before and you're from a completely different area and climate, it might be a shock to you when you get here and you go through your first winter time. You may feel a little depressed because it just might be a little bit too gloomy for you. So definitely on the cons, especially for the out-of-staters, weather is going to be a big negative here. All right, my third pro, probably my favorite, I think, is just all the things to do and the nature. Issaquah is an amazing place to live for these reasons, which is why I've loved living here for so long. So this is like trails, biking, mountains. There's just so many things to do. There's a salmon hatchery. We're right next to Lake Sammamish, so even though it's a Lake Sammamish State Park, it's on Issaquah, and so that's an amazing location with the beach. It's just a great spot to be with family, kids. If you have a boat, you can actually be on Lake Sammamish. That would be a great weekend trip, not trip, but great weekend activity for you. So lakes, hikes, mountains, biking, it's got really it all. Like I couldn't even tell you how many trails there are because there's too many to even know. But Poo Poo Point is a really great hike. There's tons and tons of trails just by Squak Mountain in Issaquah in general. And then for all of you bikers, mountain bikers specifically, Duthie Hill Park is amazing. They actually are, it's a whole place that's really just for mountain bikers. So it has some pretty aggressive, pretty tough downhill, courses essentially. They have regular just trails and biking trails there. They even have like the dirt jumps and like the trick, area. I don't actually do it myself, but I know anyone who is avid about that kind of stuff absolutely loves that. People travel from hours away to go to Duthie Hill for that specific reason. So if you're an outdoorsy person, trails, hikes, like I said, all that stuff, you're gonna absolutely love it here because there's just never gonna be an end of things to do outside here in Issaquah. We also have just tons of shopping and commercial space, so you don't need to go to the big skyscraper cities to get all the stuff you have here. We got the Costco, Home Depot, Fred Meyer, Lowe's, obviously all your grocery stores, Safeway, QFC, all that stuff. We got movie theaters, 2 movie theaters. The Issaquah Highlands just itself, which is a whole segment of Issaquah, which is a much newer development community. When I was actually raised in Issaquah, this was literally a mountainside with trees. So it didn't even exist. Now it's this like 5,000 home community with all this commercial space. It's got their own movie theaters. It's got their own shopping centers. It's got tons of really great restaurants. So you can do just about anything entertainment-wise staying right in Issaquah, which I think is so cool. There's not a lot of towns like that. If you're someone who's looked at my other videos when I do these, a lot of towns they're gonna have like the shopping centers, but Issaquah probably has the most, other than like the Bellevue in Seattle, for actual like entertainment, movie theaters, things like that. The only thing I can think of that you can't do in Issaquah is like go to the Mariners game. Obviously you gotta go to Seattle for that. But they even have like the Village Theater, so even if you wanted to catch a show or a concert, there's actually places for that even here. So like I said, this definitely ranks higher than most of the other areas that I do videos on for just awesome stuff to do without even leaving Issaquah. All right, my last con, this is the reason, if you stayed to the end, we got one more pro, but this is actually the reason that I left Issaquah, not because we were, well, I guess it's part of the reason. But anyway, it is basically the cost of living. And so this was, when I did this, it made more sense for us because we had a growing family. But it's the cost of living, meaning like the price of the real estate. So this is a very expensive market, probably because of the pros that I've just said. It's one of the greatest locations you can get to for things to do. It's got good proximity as far as close to Bellevue and Seattle and all that stuff. But yeah, very highly desirable, very expensive market. If you see the statistics here, this is as of shooting in August of 2022. So obviously if this is you're seeing this later, then we can have a Zoom call and talk about what the market's doing today. But right now, the median price point is somewhere between 1.1 and 1.2. It actually got above 1.2 for a little bit when it was more of a hot spring market. We have definitely seen a slowdown lately. But yeah, cost of living, houses are pretty expensive. And so for me, when I was already in Issaquah in my starter house, but the way the market's done, it was a good time to go ahead and get out of that and then be able to buy a much bigger house because now we have more kids. And so anyway, long story short about me, but I moved to Maple Valley because I was able to get a much better bang for my buck. Still a good school district. You can check out the Maple Valley video if you're someone like me and maybe like 1.5 million was just a little bit too high at the time you're gonna be shopping. But yeah, I mean, if you're in Issaquah, I would say $1 million is gonna be your minimum. For a house, for like a decent house, single family, standalone, house. You can get a condo or townhome for much less than that. The entry level, there's probably 1-bedroom condos for the 300s, mid 300,000s. So that's like your low end. But like I said, if you're gonna get a house, 800,000 is gonna be like your absolute minimum. That's gonna probably need some work. It's gonna be a smaller house, maybe an old town Issaquah for 1,200 square feet, something like that. But any sort of like family home with a backyard, 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, 2,000, 2,500 square feet, you are talking about in the mid millions. So 1.2, 1.4, something like that. So that is one of the main cons, is that it is a very expensive real estate market. Of course, real estate is valued by how popular the area is and what people are willing to pay. So this is a good sign that the pros are very strong. There's a lot of people that do want to live here. I love living here, and I love selling real estate here. But it is definitely a con for someone who's coming out of state. It can be sticker shock if you're coming from a much less expensive market. This might seem like just outrageously crazy to you. On the flip side, if you're coming from California or something like that, this might seem like a deal. So it's all about perspective, but I'm talking about in relation to other markets. So this is still, nationwide, definitely a more higher cost market. And even compared to the King County in general, the King County average is more like 700,000-800,000. This average is 1.2. So you can see Issaquah is much more luxury than your average King County city. All right, my last pro, also real estate. I usually like to wrap these up with real estate. So even though the prices are high, like I said, there's a lot of great things about it, and there's a reason why they're high. But my pro here is for the real estate in general, which is that I think that anybody can get in here. Not anybody, but it's got a good variety because there's lots of new construction. Builders were building this place out recently because it's such a good investment for them. So we have the, pretty expensive new construction houses, but we have a lot of communities that are super old and some right in the middle. And so I like that you have a good variety of housing options and also prices. So you can get, the 80s or 90s built house like South Cove or Sammamish Beach Club, where it has nice backyards, good front yards, sidewalks, in the neighborhood. So really good neighborhood feel. As kind of the middle of the road one option. You have the new construction that's more cookie cutter right next to each other. There's still lots of the new construction. Issaquah Highlands is very much a new construction area. Even though they started 15 years ago, they're still building out there right now, but everything's within the last 15-20 years because it didn't exist before then. And then you have Old Town Issaquah, which is literally 1905 houses, something like that. So it's super cool to see the history there, and those are going to be a little bit better as far as pricing, much smaller. So there is a good variety in the real estate. And of course, it's such good school districts and all these other pros. I just think it's a good investment. So having a house in Issaquah is going to be a good long-term investment because it's a very desirable area. There's good workforce. All the jobs and economy is supported by, a lot of tech jobs out there. And this is such a good close vicinity to those areas that I think it'll have a good long-term impact, a long-term appreciation growth. So those are my pros and cons for Issaquah from an actual native Issaquahian here. So we would love to connect. Like I said, if you guys are a day or a year away from moving and you're looking at the King County area, Issaquah may be one of the options you're thinking about, but you need some help kind of defining which cities are best for you and your family, then that's what we do. That's what we're here to help for. So call, text, DM, Zoom. We hopefully look forward to talking to you guys, and thanks for watching the video. Don't forget to check out some of the other videos on Issaquah or some of the other surrounding areas if you're still exploring which city is best for you. Until next time.